Perfect. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. We've got our Facebook live stream going right now, so I'm going to go ahead and get us started. Mahalo for joining us tonight. My name is Sarah, and I will be your MC for this evening. Please, please pardon me that I sound like this. I'm still fighting through getting through the flu, so I appreciate your understanding. This month, we are joined by Cesar Hjertén of Aqualink and Liz Yannell of huiokawaiola. And tonight, Cesar and Liz will be sharing how these two organizations have collaborated to empower our community with the ability to track water quality data and ocean conditions both globally and locally. Tonight's presentation is a part of the Maui Nui Marine Resource Council's monthly Know Your Ocean speaker series, and it's usually held on the first Wednesday of each month at 5:30 in the evening via Zoom. This monthly series is supported by the County of Maui, so we would like to mahalo them as we get started for helping to make tonight possible. And as a quick side note, I know we have a couple of new people here tonight, so if you like what you hear and want to hear more, we do have a monthly e-newsletter. We send it out just once a month. It's called the Reef in Brief, and that gives you everything you need to know on the next month's speakers, any events we might have, and just the projects that we're working on, things that might be of interest to you. So we're going to go ahead and drop that link in the chat along with a few other things. If you're interested, I encourage you to sign up and stay updated. And so again, for the new people in the house, we are the Maui Nui Marine Resource Council, and we have been working for healthy reefs since 2007. We are a 501c3 nonprofit, and we believe that healthy reefs mean healthy communities. And so for us, we all know living on an island, everything is connected, and it's no different with our precious reefs. So our organization works from Mauka to Makai because everything that happens on land eventually has an effect on our oceans and on our reefs here. So working from Mauka to Makai means that we, do a lot of different things. So just a couple of those things, we test water quality at more than 39 locations now across the island, and that is with huiokawaiola, which Liz is representing tonight. We regularly perform survey dives to monitor reef and fish populations. And we also provide property owners and landscaping professionals access to the tools that they need to be able to switch from synthetic products to natural options that are better for our environment and for our reefs. That's one of the big things, right? Everything that washes off from the land into the sea will have an effect. And so this is all part of our reef-friendly landscaping program, and maybe you've seen some of the really good news coming out of it earlier this year. We've launched a few test plots with the County of Maui, with Maui Gold Pineapple, and we're just seeing this growing demand from the community in so many different sectors for more sustainable and natural practices. So we're really excited to be a part of this movement, and just to support the people and the organizations that want to drive this positive change for our island. So we have been doing the test plots for a while, but in addition to that, this year we've launched Hawaii's first reef-friendly landscaping certification course. So this has been offered this past year both in 100% online and a hybrid online virtual an online in-person format, so that there's just this knowledge of how to do this, how to pivot to these natural practices, that is accessible and available to everyone, regardless of whether or not they live on Maui. So currently, we do have an online cohort in process. It ends on the 13th, but if you're super motivated, it's only a 5-day course. It's completely self-paced and online. So if you would like, there is more info in the chat about how to get connected to that. And we are in. I hope you guys all had a wonderful Thanksgiving with your ohanas. Yesterday was Giving Tuesday, and we are in this season of holiday and of generosity of spirit. And we just wanted to share with you, we are a part of Give Big Hawaii. I don't know if any of you have ever heard of it, but it is this once a year amazing opportunity to give back to the community in the islands. And this year they have partnered with Southwest Airlines. So Southwest is offering 25 Southwest Rapid Rewards for every $1 donated through their Give Big Hawaii platform. And this is to the end of the year. You know, you can do it whenever you want. But we've already seen so many amazing people, you know, support the work that we do for Reefs in Maui. And it doesn't hurt. No shame to admit that you like to get those Southwest miles too. So it's just an extra something and an extra way to say mahalo for supporting a lot of amazing work going on in Hawaii. And so if you would like to support us and get something in return, that link is also in the chat as well. Okay, so a few notes before we get started. We will leave time at the end after the presentation for Q&A. So throughout the webinar, please feel free to use that little Q&A box at the bottom of your screen to submit any questions. If you're joining us on Facebook, just type it as a comment and that'll be relayed back to me. And then as always, this is being recorded and we will upload it to our YouTube channel. Again, if you're on our email mailing list, you will get notified of the recording. So if you'd like to play it back or share it with a friend, make sure you are subscribed to the Reef and Brief. Okay, so now for our speakers. So tonight we have Caesar Chin from Aqualink and Liz Yannell from huiokawaiola. So Caesar joined Aqualink in February of 2022 with the goal of advancing the platform and increasing the organization's impact. Graduated from Hilo, where he also played for the university soccer team, or football if you're European, right? Caesar is passionate about our oceans and the environment. He loves to play sports, dive, surf, and all other outdoor activities. At Aqualink, he manages the online platform, the fleet of smart mooring buoys, which you saw in the cover picture, and Aqualink, and he is Aqualink's primary point of contact. Caesar, thank you so much for making the time. And also our wonderful Liz, who joined huiokawaiola also in May of 2022. She became our program manager last June. Amazing. She has a bachelor's degree in environmental studies from Florida Gulf Coast University. And in 2022, she also graduated from the Marine Options program right here at Maui, where she also worked as an assistant in the Marine Lab. And so as our program manager for the Hui, she coordinates so many aspects of the program, including logistical support, coordinating the team leads, managing the training, all the volunteers, data operations. I mean, so many things. She's amazing. I'll let her speak for herself. But she often is in the field with our teams. She loves to be with them. And when she is not doing all of these amazing things, she is very passionate about spending time with her family. She is from Oahu and currently lives in Kula with her 2 children and her husband. So Caesar and Liz, thank you so much for being with us tonight, and take it away. The floor is yours.
Thank you so much for that introduction. That was very nice of you, Sarah. So I'm gonna see. Hold on. What can you see right now? Can you see the slides?
No, not just yet. Oh, there it is. Yep.
Here we go. Not bad. There we go. All right.
Perfect.
Sorry about that. All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Cesar. I work for a philanthropic ocean monitoring organization called Aqualink. I currently live in Hilo on the Big Island, but I'm originally from Sweden, where I was born and raised. Today, we're going to talk about how Aqualink's global ocean monitoring organization, together with huiokawaiola's water quality data, can be a useful tool for the Maui community. I'll also talk a little bit more about Aqualink and how you can track heat waves and monitor your reefs with us. But first, I'll talk a little bit more about corals and why they are important. So hard corals build coral reefs with a hard calcium carbonate skeletons. And coral reefs supports 25% of all the life in the ocean, and while only covering about 1% of the ocean floor. Coral reefs are also very important for us humans because they provide food, they protect our coastlines, and they are a strong economic driver for both tourism and fisheries, for example. Coral reefs has a lot of threats right now, but one of the most significant threats is the increased temperatures caused by climate change. Corals are very sensitive to temperature increases. And in fact, corals can begin to bleach when the temperature reaches the bleaching threshold, which is only about 1 degree Celsius above the historical maximum monthly mean, which is the same as the highest summertime average temperature. And when a coral bleach, it expels its algae in its tissue, which provides it with food, color, and energy. And when a coral is bleached, it can easily be infected by diseases, and if it's bleached for too long, it will die. In this image, for example, we can see that the coral to the left is a healthy coral, and in the middle, the coral expelled its algae and started to bleach. And then into the right, the coral was bleached for too long, which caused it to die, and then algae was overgrown over the coral. And if mass coral mortality and algae overgrowth happens to an entire reef, the reef can lose its structure, which was built by the corals, which can lead to a loss in biodiversity at that reef. But if a reef is healthy and are given the opportunity to recover, they can do so. In this reef, for example, we can see that the reef got wiped out by a storm, but then in 2010 to 2014, it actually recovered fully. But coral bleaching is not going away anytime soon. And as we can see in this graph, from around 1980s to today, we see a sharp increase in average sea surface temperatures every year. So this is a good indicator that shows us that, coral bleaching is not going to disappear. It might even get worse over time. So what can we do about these increased temperatures? Well, the first step is just to share awareness and to work together to solve this global issue. And here is where Aqualink was born. So Aqualink was started in 2020 with a goal of providing monitoring tools to scientists and the public. And a core criteria for us is to always share all of our data publicly. And we invested in a lot of different projects that can work towards this issue to solve this goal that we are trying to achieve. And one of these things that we invested in was the smart mooring buoy. And the smart mooring buoy from SOFAR is something that we invested in. We gave funding, we provided market demand, and we provided a global network of reef managers. So the smart mooring buoy is a small little buoy. Unlike the traditional costly and large buoys, this is very small. It's just the size of a basketball, and it's also very affordable. The smart mooring buoy collects and transmits real-time wind, wave, and temperature data, both from the ocean floor and from the surface. We purchased over 160 of these buoys and distributed them to scientists worldwide for them to help them with their monitoring and science efforts. And this also gave us a global fleet of smart mooring buoys that can help detect and track ocean heat waves and also temperature bleaching events. Simultaneously, we also created a large public dashboard that can help both the public and scientists to track and monitor coral reef bleaching and reef worldwide, both locally and globally. And this image right here is a picture of the Aqualink Dashboard. The dashboard was created to help you with your monitoring efforts and provide an instant view into what your reef's stressors and conditions looks like. So on the Aqualink Dashboard, every dashboard is equipped with NOAA satellite data with temperature, wind, and wave data. You can also add external sensors such as the smart mooring buoy or other temperature or water quality sensors. So this site, for example, is managed by Maui Nui Marine Resource Council, and they also have connected their smart mooring buoy, which we actually donated to them. By combining data with visual observations, we can connect when when a survey was conducted to what the temperature was at that time. So here we can see a bunch of little small circles, and each of those circles indicate that the survey was conducted at that time. And we can see here on the graph that we can connect when the survey was conducted to what the temperature was at that time. And if we click on the circle, we can see what the visual observations was at that time. And this specific site is one of our users in Bermuda who uses Aqualink a lot to conduct surveys on his reef. And here in August, we can see that the corals was healthy. Then temperatures increased, leading to coral bleaching. But then a storm came by Bermuda. And when it came, it brought with it cooler water, which we can see here in the sharp decrease in temperature levels. But then the temperature levels actually stayed low, causing the corals to recover. So we can see that in December, the coral actually recovered fully. But you don't have to have any fancy sensors or buoys or anything to monitor your reefs on Aqualink, because all of them, as I said before, has the satellite data from NOAA. So you can just go out to the reef, monitor it, upload observations, or just see what happens from the data from the satellites. Another thing that powers the satellite data also powers the Aqualink map with the different layers. So here, for example, we see that we have a layer on the map with the sea surface temperature. And all these little icons on the map here, those are Aqualink sites. And I'll show you also later how you can create an Aqualink site for free. It's very simple, and it's also for free. But how often do the temperature levels actually exceed the bleaching threshold? Well, unfortunately, more often than we would like. So here we have a screenshot from the Aqualink map in October. And on this Aqualink map, we have the layer heat stress on. And as we can see, that almost the entire Caribbean here is filled with dark colors. And this is bad in this case because dark colors indicates heat stress on the Aqualink heat stress map. And when looking at the bottom here, we can see a scale. And this scale indicates how many weeks in a row a particular area on the map has experienced heat stress. And as we can see, most of the area here is either dark red or purple, indicating that this reef, this part of the ocean, has experienced temperature levels over the bleaching threshold for over 4 months when this screenshot was taken. And that's a lot for corals. Studies have even shown that just as little as a couple of weeks of heat stress can be enough to kill corals. So 4 months is a lot. And these large areas of these dark colors here with increased prolonged temperatures is what we refer to as heat waves. Another large area that experienced heat waves this year was in Brazil. And you can see here how they in Brazil used Aqualink to monitor and track the bleaching event. And here we can see what effect had on this reef. I'm not sure if you could hear that or not, but it doesn't matter. It's just a little song on it. So, but those are only 2 extremely large areas, though, that experienced heat stress this year. Unfortunately, there are a lot more areas that did experience it. And in this figure, we can see a map put together by NOAA that shows that during this time period from January 1st to 2023 to April 10th, 2024, almost the entire world experienced heat stress. So this is something we all experience. In this year, NOAA also confirmed the 4th global bleaching event in just the past 10 years. But on Aqualink, you can track heat waves when they are happening right now. And you can monitor the reefs in those regions on those dashboards. So you can do this all on Aqualink in real time and track everything. So it's a very useful tool, and I hope you're gonna use it if it's something that would fit you. The collaboration with huiokawaiola is very important for us. It takes us to a new dimension because they introduce us to water quality data, which is very important to understand a reef's health and condition and all the stressors that is going on. So we are very thankful we get to work with huiokawaiola and their water quality data and really improve our dashboard and take it into a new level. And if you heard Liz talk and the Know Your Ocean speakers back in August, you know how amazing work they're all doing. But Liz is gonna talk now a little bit more about what different data they added to Aqualink and what the most important ones were for the Maui community to take a part of and engage in. So yeah, over to you.
Thank you, Cesar. It's so nice of you to say so many kind words. I want to say so many kind words back to Aqualink. You guys, we're obviously so excited about this collaboration that we're doing together. And I know that the beginning of this project started when I first started at huiokawaiola. So we've been working on it for a couple of years and it's finally launched and I'm geeking out over it. So anyway, I'm going to share my screen and then I'm going to pass it back to Cesar toward the end. Let's see. Okay. All right. Did I get that? We're good? I think so. Okay.
You're good.
Thank you. Just checking. Passing back and forth can be a little tricky. So hi, everyone. I'm Liz Yannell, and I'm the program manager at huiokawaiola. And yeah, I just want to thank Cesar again for working with us and all the wonderful things you just shared so far. Yeah, Aqualink is really an amazing organization and platform. And thank you everybody that is tuned in tonight. We're so excited to have you here. Yeah, so a lot I want to share. And then first I thought I would just begin by giving an overview of who we are for those of you that aren't familiar with our work. We are a community-based citizen science water quality testing organization with a very small staff, but a great big group of volunteers. We have about 30 regular volunteers that help us collect our coastal water samples every 3 weeks. And our program absolutely would not be the same without these incredible people that volunteer with us regularly. Big mahalo to all of them. We also have key partners with the logos that are at the bottom that have been a part of our work since the very beginning, and that's Maui Nui Marine Resource Council. Maybe you've heard of them. Thank you for hosting us tonight, you guys. Also the Nature Conservancy of Hawaii and the West Maui Ridge to Reef Initiative. And we're really proud to say that since we started in 2016, we've collected over 4,500 samples. And yeah, we're very proud of that. A little more about who we are. So huiokawaiola means the Association of the Living Waters. And together we work toward our mission to deepen the understanding of Maui's coastal water quality through science and advocacy to accelerate positive change on our island. Here we go. And so we test 12 different parameters. We have 41 active sites, and this is our Aqualink map here, and that all of those little pins are our sites that are up on the Aqualink dashboard. And we test the leeward side of Maui from Honolulu Bay Marine Reserve in the northwest all the way down to Ahi'ikina'u Natural Area Reserve in the south. And so as I mentioned, we have 12 parameters that we regularly test for, and 4 out of those 12 parameters we publish on our Aqualink dashboard. So that includes turbidity, which is the clarity of the water, nitrates, also known as NNN or nitrate, nitrogen. And those are organic and inorganic nutrients found in our waters. And when the levels are high of nitrates, it can point to wastewater or agricultural influences that damage our marine ecosystems. We also measure pH, which is the acidity of our ocean samples, and salinity, which can tell us the concentration of salt water in the sample. And salinity of our samples can vary near the coast due to factors including tides, evaporation, or a volume of freshwater input from either heavy rainfall, release of groundwater, or nearby flowing streams. We're able to test 3 of these parameters right on site. So that's turbidity, pH, and salinity. Those are our physical parameters. And we test them, we collect our bucket, and we're able to test those things right away in our mobile lab, we call it, in the back of a vehicle of the sampling team. But the nitrates and our other nutrient parameters, we have to send off to Oahu for further analysis because you can't precisely do that in the back of the car. So this is our beautiful dashboard with Aqualink. It's their dashboard paired with our data at Oneloa Bay, which is one of my favorite beaches on the west side. So let's see, here we go. So down toward the bottom, I just highlighted our little green square. So that's our huiokawaiola data that supplements all the other great data that Aqualink puts up on this dashboard, the wind, the waves from the satellite imagery and the heat as well. So let's see. Oneloa is also known as Ironwoods. And I love to relax at this beach because it's just almost always beautiful, clean, clear, crystal water. It's so pretty. And I can always trust that the nutrient levels are going to be consistently low. They really are at this beach, according to our Hawaii state standards, which I'll talk about a little bit later. Yeah, it's just such a pretty place. There's high sand dunes and nice vegetation that just protects the ocean from land input. And there's some nice circulation at that beach as well. So it just keeps it very clear and beautiful. So with where the little arrow is pointing down, I want you to take note of the watch, warning, and alert that we set up at the bottom. So this is a new categorization that we came up with our data to try to more easily express what we're finding with our numbers. So let's see. Yeah, so here we go. You can notice that the only thing in our box right now that's not white is the nitrate, nitrite, nitrogen, the NNN are nitrates. So that's in the yellow, the watch warning category. Because it's a little bit higher than we would like to see it, but it's relatively low. But yeah, a little higher than we would like. And I also want to point out at the very bottom below where you see watch warning and alert, you can see down here, I believe you can see my cursor. We have when our last bit of data was uploaded onto the platform. So right now, you'll notice that the dates when things are uploaded are probably a month or 2 months previously. And that's because right now we're just publishing things with Aqualink every quarter. That's typically when we publish our data publicly, is every quarter, because we go through our QA process, our quality assurance process. But we're hoping at some point that we might be able to publish our physical data, the data I was mentioning we can test right away. We're hoping we might be able to someday publish that more like every month, so it's a little more up to date and accurate when you view it. But the nitrates data, all of our nutrient data, takes a couple of months for us just to get it back from the lab on Oahu, and then it goes through the QA process. So that will probably continue to be, that will have to be continue to be updated every quarter. So yeah, something we're hoping to accomplish and to look forward to. Let's see. Okay, so to tell you a little bit more about this report card system that we came up with. So you can see our box on the left that I just showed you, that's still at Oneloa Bay. And then what we did was we broke up our turbidity parameter into categories. So just to remind you, turbidity, again, is the measurement of clarity of our coastal samples, and it's measured in NTU, which stands for nephelometric turbidity units, and that's just how we measure turbidity in the water. When the levels are higher, it means there's more turbidity. It's more murky, it's more brown. When the levels are lower, it's cleaner, well, we'll say clearer water, more clarity to it. So we created this report card system based on coral reef health. And when I think I will say, though, that there is a correlation to human health, because it's not safe. It's not a good idea to swim in water that's really brown or murky. It wouldn't be good to get it in your mouth or, just when it's brown, stay in town, stay out of the water. Always remember that. So a turbidity value that's less than 1 NTU will always remain white on the green square that you see on your left, like how the, oh, sorry. Like over here, it's still white here. It didn't turn yellow, orange, or red. So when a value is less than 1, that's still above the state standard, which is, you can see at the bottom, is 0.20 NTUs, and that's set by the Hawaii Department of Health Clean Water Branch for levels that we would like to find in our coastal waters for turbidity. So while being above 0.2, you know, is still over that threshold, what we find is that when waters are less than 1 NTU, you still have a lot of clear visibility you can enjoy for snorkeling or scuba diving or free diving. And truthfully, all of our sites on the leeward side of Maui don't hit that 0.20 threshold, but when we're seeing them below 1, we feel really good about it. You know, those are our favorite beaches. And the next, I guess the first level then would be the yellow, the watch. So that's when we're finding turbidity units between 1 and 4.99. And that's because when we get above 1 NTU, we start to lose the visibility. It begins to disappear. And that felt like an appropriate level for us to say is you know, a watch. And then we'll get into warning. So this is for values of NTU higher than 5, but less than 10. So yeah, our partners at the Nature Conservancy and West Maui Ridge to Reef Initiative have observed impaired water quality and reef health data that when we're seeing a geomean, like it's essentially like an average of turbidity at 5 for more than 40% of the time in an area, then we can be pretty sure that that coral reef in that area is struggling to survive. They don't do well with brown water. Our corals want that nice temperature, as Cesar was talking about. They want clean water with just a little bit of nutrients flowing through, not an excess. They need that clean water to be able to get sunlight coming through the water. So yeah, so we figured this seemed like a good warning level. If we're seeing repeated values above 5 but less than 10, that is our warning level. And then our alert level is when we get to above 10 NTU, because when we find this level over time, you know, reefs generally are not surviving, and seeing this gives us a really big concern for a site. Okay, so what is turbidity? This is just a really great picture that some of our team members in the years past took for us when they were out snorkeling. And turbidity is caused by particles suspended or dissolved in the water, which scatter light and make the water appear more cloudy or murky. So you can see the photos on the left. It's the same distance as the photos on the right. The only difference is the turbidity that was measured at those two areas. So on the left, we're just above 1, and you can see it is harder to see your snorkeling friend there. And the turbidity on the right is really low, close to that state standard that we dream of for all of our beaches. Yeah, and high turbidity is caused by stream input, coastal erosion, or resuspension of sediment caused by either of those two things. Or of course, it can be a combination of all three of those issues. Okay, nutrients, just to talk a little bit about nitrates. So there are natural sources of nitrates and other nutrients that we find in the ocean and in which ocean life depend on. But in this presentation, we'll focus on, and on the Aqualink platform as well, we focus on the nitrates, which is also NNN, the nitrate, nitrogen, but nitrates is just easier to say. And when we find nitrates in excess near shore on Maui, it's usually driven by wastewater or agricultural practices in which excess nutrients enter our groundwater through the porous volcanic island that we live on. And then over time, that groundwater seeps out into our ocean, either through springs in the ocean floor or during low tide events. So yeah, when nutrients are in excess, they encourage this overgrowth of algae, seaweeds in the ocean. They increase coral disease and they weaken the coral reef structure. This photo on the left is this hookweed bloom that washed up on the shore at Kuau Bay. which is an invasive species. And on the top right, you can see turf algae taking over the space on the reef and out competing with the coral for space on the reef. And it looks like that coral that was probably once thriving is probably going to get smothered out. And then at the very bottom right, you can see this is at Kahekili Beach Park. And this is treated wastewater effluent seen entering the water via seeps at the beach in the reef through bubbles surfacing through the reef. And then so that's where the source of nutrients and nitrates are coming from in that area. Okay, so to talk about the report card system that we made up for nitrates. So the state standard for nitrates is 3.5 micrograms per liter. And sorry about that. Oh yeah, so again, just like turbidity, as I mentioned before, this is set for coral reef health, but there is the correlation of human health as well, because if you consider that when there's excess of nitrates in the water, it's caused by wastewater agricultural influences, then that's enough for me to understand why it's not a good idea to swim in waters filled with fertilizers or human waste. So anything below the 3.5 microgram per liter will stay white in our green box, and that feels like, our happy value that we feel good about. When we get above 3.5 but less than 30 micrograms per liter, that is it's basically just like one order of magnitude higher. So we gave that the level of watch. And about half of our sites are in this range. And then we'll get to the warning level, which would be 30 to 99 micrograms per liter, which is just another order of magnitude. And finally, a final order of magnitude is the alert, and when it's above 100 micrograms per liter. And reef impacts have been shown at this level at Kahekili Beach in studies done by USGS. So that was part of why, we've seen that is a marker for concern. Okay, so here is, I want to talk a little bit about how we use Aqualink, how I like to use Aqualink. This is our huiokawaiola.com website, and at the very top, you can see the current sites is highlighted. This is our current sites page. So if you went to our website, you clicked the current sites tab, it would take you here, and then you would see all of our current sites listed. These are our active sites, and each one of these is a link to our Aqualink platform, our dashboard. So I live in Kula up the mountain, and some mornings, especially this time of year, it's so cold, and I look down the mountain and it's hard to feel convinced that it's a nice beach day. It looks windy or it feels cold, and it's been really fun for me to be able to use the Aqualink data to check in real time, what is it like down at that beach? It might give me the motivation to leave the house and take my family to the beach, or confirm the fact that I should just stay home and get a cup of hot tea and a blanket and skip it. And it can also help me to be reminded of which sites are consistently higher in turbidity or nutrient input, which is, we have 41 sites. It's hard to keep track of them all. So it's nice to be able to click and see what's the latest data, what's the average data, what was it, how has it changed? There's a lot of ways you can play with it. I truly have been geeking out over this platform. And for any of you guys that have ever played with math and science stuff and trying to create beautiful graphs and images that you can communicate and are easy to interpret for people, you would know it takes a really long time. It's surprising sometimes how long it can take me to make something that can explain what I'm trying to explain with our data, which is why I'm so grateful for what Aqualink has done, especially with the data set as rich as ours. You can just play with dates and move things around and see the parameters that we have up. It's really very cool and amazing that it's just free and open to the public to use at any point. And so for the sake of time, I've just selected a few sites we're going to talk about. And that includes 505 Front Street in Lahaina on the west side, as well as Kealia Beach on the south side, Waipuilani, and Cove Park all in Kihei. And I'm going to show how Aqualink visualizes our data. So this is the platform, the dashboard with Aqualink at our site in 505 or at 505 Front Street. And that's us on the right, walking into our sample site. On the left, you can see the pin of where we are in the map. You can see the date of our last survey. And we've been sampling at this site since July 2016. And that's something you can see later where it shows the HOKWO date range. So moving down to a little more information. So I thought I would point out that the data looks pretty consistent pre and post fires. You know, there of course has been a lot of concern about how the water's doing since the devastating fires in August 2023. And 505 Front Street was one of those sites we've been testing for a long time, and it had a tremendous amount of burn and debris in that area, and we were worried about how the data would look. So you can see there are quite a few turbidity spikes. This little red dot is our first day sampling after the fires of August. So our first sample date was August 30th, 2023, just 3 weeks after the devastating fires. And then we had our first flush of rain January 9th. So I pointed that out with a little lightning streak. That was when there was the first big rains that hit Lahaina, and we called it our first flush because it was the first time that there was big rains to potentially come down the mountain through Lahaina and bring any debris and ash into our coastal waters. But you can see that it was not a crazy spike of turbidity, and that is just showing how much work was done to clean and mitigate in the Lahaina area before we got that first flush. It was a tremendous amount of work, and I do think it could have been a lot worse had we not had enough time to get the work that was done before we got that big rain. And then interestingly, our biggest peak of turbidity was May 17th, 2024. When I saw that on Aqualink, I was just like, oh, we didn't get a big rain. What was that about? And then I remembered because I looked up, we take really good notes when we're out there in the field. And I was like, oh yeah, that was that morning that this large dinner cruise ship got stuck on the reef just about a couple hundred yards from our sample site. So it caused a lot of turbidity, a lot of, there was some broken coral and bits just washed up all around. So that was our highest level of turbidity that day, hitting as high as 19.2. But you can see on average that it's, pre and post fire, it's as far as turbidity goes and our basic parameters, the site is still pretty consistent. And for nitrates, let's see. There's another lightning strike to show when we had our big first flush, and you can see that we didn't get a crazy, we did get a spike of nutrients that flowed in and nitrates, but it wasn't anything outrageous, not the highest peak that we've seen in this area. Just remembering there was this really, really big flush, that one that you see in January 23, that was when there was this huge rain event that hit the whole leeward coast and there was so much flooding. So that was our biggest flux of nitrates that came in then. Okay, so to talk a little bit more about our South Maui data. So right now our biggest concerns on our whole leeward side are Waipuilani and Cove Park in Kihei. So Waipuilani has the worst chronic turbidity issue, and Cove Park has the worst chronic nutrient issue. And then Kealia Beach, just adjacent to the pond, is this beautiful bright spot that we have in Kihei, all thanks to the wetland system that really protects our coastline. So Waipuilani Park has the highest turbidity, as I mentioned. It's caused partly by coastal erosion. You can see our photo on the right, that's our site where we sample. And you can see how there's landscaping of the lawn and the grass, palm trees. And we're just losing that soil, that root structure is there, but it's washing away as the coast comes up and erodes the land. We also have some big brown water events that have happened at Waipuilani Park, and the circulation in that area hasn't been enough to carry out that excessive amount of sediment that's been introduced to Waipuilana Park. So to show the graph, oh, wait, sorry. We've got, yeah, you can see that there's big spikes. It's going up pretty high. And I'll just remind you that 0.20 is the state standard for turbidity. So, you know, we've got these peaks that are going as high as nearly 60. The minimum is still, you know, 10 times higher than the state standard. It's got quite a bit of turbidity, and you can see that it's like these peaks are going up over time, which is just showing us that this chronic turbidity issue is worsening. And I'll remind you that we've found that generally when we're seeing turbidity above 5 for long periods of time, then the reef is definitely struggling. And of course, every microzone is different, and we're continuing to understand resiliency of corals and certain coral species and reefs. But you know, this is not good news for the area, of course. And just for comparison, this is what Kealia Pond looks like, the turbidity over there. You can see that there's just, yeah, wetlands really are worth conserving and taking care of. These two sites are just 4 miles away, and yeah, the highest peak of turbidity we've ever seen at Kealia is almost the same as the average we see at Waipuilani. There have been some spikes at Kealia, but in general, it's really so much lower. Okay, here we go. Okay, and then talking about Cove Park, so switching over. So this is our other big priority site of concern. I'll remind you that it's all about nutrients, nitrates in Cove Park. So I'll remind you that the state standard for nitrates is set by the Department of Health is 3.5 micrograms per liter. So the mean at Cove Park is over 100 times higher than that. And the highest nitrate value we've seen there is 328 times higher than that state standard. So yeah, nitrates are really high at Cove Park. For comparison, we've got our highest one at Kealia is 99 micrograms per liter. And it's super low generally, thanks to those wetlands. Putting them side by side, yeah, Kealia's had a few spikes, but they're just nowhere near the spikes that we see at Cove Park. Yeah, it's really concerning, especially you just consider that there's Cove Park is such a popular surf spot, and there have been source detection studies that have shown that there are wastewater signatures. So yeah, it's really concerning. We don't want to be surfing in wastewater. And this is just another example of how, yeah, the wetlands really are such a big deal. Cove Park has had at least, since 2017, at least 4 spikes that are over 1,000. And yeah, Kealia has never hit over 100. And yeah, again, they're just six miles apart. Okay, so if you want to learn more about our data, I welcome you to download our report that we just published in August, and you could read more about our data, our findings, actionable solutions. We publish this biannually, so every 2 years, and I'm really proud of our team and the work that we've done to highlight some of the most important and interesting findings and put them into words instead of just numbers. And there are nice visualizations as well. And I'll pass it back to Cesar if you're ready as we wrap up our presentation. So I'll stop screen sharing for now.
Thank you, Liz. That was very interesting. All right. Can you see it properly now? Nice. All right. So right now, I'm just going to show you a little bit of how you can use Aqualink and how it looks like just when we walk through Aqualink, basically. So we're going to share some links later too, so you can also go to all these places where I showed you. But this, for example, is all of huiokawaioola's sites on Aqualink. So this is what we call a little collection of sites. And here we have an interactive map And if we scroll down a little bit, we can see all the sites here and some of the heat stress metrics that we're measuring on Aqualink. And on this interactive map, we can also change the layer to different other types of maps, but I'm going to go into that further in a little bit. So if we interact with the dashboard and select one of the sites, we can click on Explore to go to that site's dashboard, see what's going on this site. So here, for example, we have the map to the left. We have the survey imagery from the last conducted survey to the right. If we scroll down, we have here 4 different dashboard cards. Here we have the satellite observation, which is basically the temperature from the satellite data. We also have the historical max here, the degree heating weeks, and the sea surface temperature anomaly. We can also see that this site is experienced no heat stress at this point, which is great. And here we can see the water quality dashboard card that Liz just talked about. And here is the wind and wave data for this site. If we scroll down, we're going to have a bunch of different graphs. So first we have temperature graphs, and then below them, we have the water quality graphs that Liz just showed. And if we scroll down to the very bottom, we can see all the surveys that have been conducted at this reef, which on this one is only one. But otherwise, it's a chronological order of all the reefs. If we scroll up again to this temperature, we can see that we can change the range of these graphs to 1 month, 1 year, or custom. You can change the numbers here, or you can click on the little calendar icon if that makes it easier for you. You can change both the start date and the end date. And when changing these dates, the graphs automatically changes. And so does the min, mean, and max as well, depending on the dates you change. So if we want to go back to the collection, we gotta click on this little back bottom in the browser. And then we're gonna come back to the collection. But if we want to come back to the normal Aqualink map with all the Aqualink sites, we just click on that little arrow we saw there. So here we have the Aqualink map with all the sites we have on Aqualink currently. But right now we can go back to that one I went through a little bit earlier, a site in Bermuda with a lot of surveys to see how that dashboard can look like. So we click on Explore to go to the dashboard. To the right, we can see the latest survey that was conducted. And then otherwise, this dashboard looks the same as huiokawaioola's dashboards, except it doesn't have those water quality graphs here. But we can see all the survey history here in the bottom. We can see that they are in chronological order with the newest one first. And if we did, like I did there, click on one of the surveys, we can explore that survey. And we can see that this survey also has 2 survey points, meaning they surveyed the reef in 2 points on this survey site. And they have 3 images. And here we have one of those survey points where we see an image of a coral right here. And we can explore this survey point to see how the reef changes at this specific point over time. So we can see that this survey point has 25 surveys with 25 images, which is a lot. So we can see the chronological order here. We can see the comments, temperature at that specific time. But there are a lot of surveys here that we can go through and really see how they change from year to year and sometimes even from month to month, depending on when this reef was surveyed. But if we scroll up here to September in 2022, we can see that the reef here started to bleach, like I talked about before. We can see the temperature is pretty high here. And then we can see that the temperature does get lower, but it's still bleached until 2022 when it's super low. In December 2022 when it's super low, and we can see that the coral actually recovered here back to a healthy state. Another thing we can do with a survey point is we can locate the survey point on the map. So the blue pin here, that's the survey site you register to get the dashboard. But yeah, you can locate each survey point on the map too. So here we can click on one of the survey points, and this specific reef has this specific survey point in this survey site has 2 surveys conducted, and it also has a HOKWO logger deployed at each of these survey points. So here we can go through the HOKWO logger data, for example, and see. We can also see the surveys conducted at this specific survey point. Let's go back to the Aqualink map with all the sites again. If we click on one of the sites here, without going to the dashboard, you can see this little part here in the top right corner. That's the preview of that site. So without even going to the dashboard, you can see some data already in the preview. Here we can see the list of all the sites we have. We can also filter this list by different heat stress metrics. So up here, where I click now, was the layer icon. And in the layer icon, we can change to sea surface temperature, heat stress, sea surface temperature, anomaly. And in this case, I'm gonna explore the heat stress layer of the map. And we can also make it full view. So here we can see the Caribbean, like I talked about before. We can see the heat stress, the degree heating weeks, which shows how long time, just like I talked about before, how much heat stress and how many weeks it has experienced heat stress. To the very right here, we can see different icons here. And that's basically showing you what heat stress a specific site is experiencing. So you can see all these icons here. Those are the dashboards, right, where people use Aqualink to monitor their reef. And we can see that these ones are like white, bluish, and they are experiencing no alert, meaning no heat stress, and then warning, and these red ones are experiencing heat stress. So let's go back to the normal standard view. Here we have a bottom. If we click on that one, we can filter the map and see what sites populate the map. So if we click on active buoys, that's all the smart mooring buoys I talked about before. And all the sites that have a smart mooring buoy connected to it has these little pentagon-shaped icons instead. We can also see all the sites that have a live stream on them, which I'll talk a little bit more in a little bit. We can also see all the sites that have a 3D model, and 3D models, you can play around with the reef and turn it around and see exactly how it looks like. It's really cool, so I encourage you to look it up. We can also see the sites that has HOKWO loggers on them. And if we click on one of the sites again, we can click on explore, and then we'll go to dashboard. So that's basically how the Aqualink platform works like. And it's a lot more features, but it's a simple view. All right, so when can you use Aqualink? Well, you can use Aqualink to monitor local reefs. You can use Aqualink both by monitor local existing dashboards on Aqualink, but if you want, you can also create your own dashboard. If you want to survey reef, for example, or just see the data. And to get your own dashboard, you only need to go to Aqualink and you need to click on register a site. Here you need to add the name of the reef, the location, just the coordinates. Super easy, super fast, it's for free. Everybody can do it. You don't need to have any sensors or anything. You can also monitor heat waves and bleaching events on a larger scale, mainly by using the Aqualink map. And you can also use Aqualink for recreational use. You can check out the Aqualink map, the platform before you go to a beach that you plan to go to, or anything like that. So here you can see, obviously, the temperature, the wind, the wave, and you can also see the water quality data that Liz just talked about. So maybe you should check out this one, which is like the Cove Park again, before you go surf, for example. Maybe it's not that best idea. So you can check out your beach, see how it's going to look like before you go. Another thing we invested in to understand more about reefs was the Mega Lab's first underwater camera. And this camera was pretty cool because it helped them survey the reef in a new way, because they didn't have to go there with ROVs or persons anymore. You just have the camera showing the reef in real time. So here I'm going to show a little bit how that looked like. So here, yeah, we can see a bunch of fish. It's always happening, a bunch of fish. Here is an ulu, and now it's showing you how a sand beach is created. So that's a little bit short how the live stream work. And Aqualink has a live stream collection where we have gathered 14 live streams and highlights around the globe, and it's free to watch and view. And I think we're gonna have a link in the chat soon. If not, we're gonna have it after the webinar. So please feel free to check it out, look at all the videos, and it's a lot of live streams too. So I think it's very cool. I hope you do too. So we do have some future updates for this collaboration with huiokawaiola and Aqualink that we're hoping we can do in the future. And maybe we can even get more future upgrades with the help of you guys from the public whenever you give us any feedbacks and stuff. But one thing huiokawaiola already has is Brown Water Watch, where you, the public, submits images of brown water to them. And hopefully we can get this published on the Aqualink platform in the survey feature in the future. It's something we hope is going to happen. We also hope that we can do monthly updates with turbidity, pH, and salinity, like Liz mentioned before. But what's the future for Aqualink? Well, this collaboration with huiokawaiola and the water quality data is an important step for us to provide a more complete view and understanding of a site's stressors and condition. And we hope that this local collaboration can extend globally. We hope that organizations who collect water quality data want to join huiokawaioola's pioneer project with Aqualink and share it with us as well. Aqualink is always looking for new partnerships and improvements and new features. And soon we're coming out with new features that we are already creating. And one of them, for example, is going to help you get a more comprehensive view of reefs, including biodiversity. So we are very excited about that, sharing that in just a couple of weeks or months. So here's for Liz.
Sorry, I forgot I was still muted. I'll need you just to hit the space bar for me as we go through it. Yeah. So things that you can do to get involved. First, don't give up hope. No task is too big when done together by all, and that's our wisdom from the Olelo. Yes, we have to just keep working together. Our partnership gives me hope that we can keep putting things forward. If you could hit again, Cesar. Actually, just hit them all, and I'll read through it as we go. Thank you. You can donate to our work. We're still looking for a lab on the west side since we lost our lab to the fires. If you know someone with a kitchen space or someone that has an extra container, we're trying to get creative on how we can do it. And your donation truly matters. Every dollar counts for us. We're still trying to get our budget nice and full for next year. So any donation really is helpful to us. It costs $6,000 per site per year to continue our work, which we think is so valuable. And you can also volunteer with us. You can reach out at huiokawaiola@gmail.com. I know that Amy just put in all the other useful links for Aqualink and for huiokawaiola, as well as my contact and Cesar's contact if you'd like to reach out to us. And you can also help by sharing our data, our Aqualink data, the Aqualink platform, share our report, just getting the word out that that we're working to find the solutions and figure out what's going on with our water quality. And lastly, we're also on Instagram, and you can follow us there, and we try to update everyone as best we can that way. You can move on, Cesar. Thank you.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay. And a big mahalo from both of us to all of you. We're so grateful you stuck with us tonight, and yeah, thank you again, Cesar, for doing this and what you're doing around the whole world and pairing with us to get our data out too. And a mahalo to Sarah and Amy, Maui Nui Marine Resource Council, for hosting us tonight. You guys are the best.
Yeah, thank you so much, everyone. And thank you all for listening too.
Thanks, Cesar and Liz.
Very nice that you can.
We actually, we have one. I know we're a little. We went a little bit over tonight on time, but we just have one question, so I just want to make sure that we ask it. The question is, what info is available to the community daily from your buoy? So I'm guessing that means, I think we talked about there's some that's updated quarterly, which I'm assuming is right, is because we have to QA it. But then there's some information that is real time available, right?
Yeah, so I guess that question is for me. The water quality data is available every quarter now, and hopefully we can have some metrics available every month. But for the real-time stuff, so on the Aqualink dashboard, as I mentioned, you can connect your buoy or you can connect sensors to the dashboards. But every single dashboard has wind, wave, and temperature data from NOAA satellites. So that's daily data. So if you create a new dashboard right now, you will get that form of data instantly. So every single dashboard on our platform has that wind, wave, and temperature daily.
That's so cool.
Perfect. So hopefully, I think Sherry, hopefully that answered your question. It was a good one. There's a lot of data. So knowing which is which, that works
And I
perfectly.
guess the real-time data, all those, if you have the map as I showed before, you click on that little button, you can click on active buoys, then you see all the buoys we have. And we have a few buoys in Maui actually. And those
Right.
transmit real-time temperature, wind, and wave data. And some of them even barometric pressure.
Cool.
So you can check out those.
Okay. Thank you. Perfect. Perfect. That was, yep, that was it. Yep. Done. Just mark that question answered. Okay, well, Caesar and Liz, thank you so much for being with us tonight. Excuse me, part of my voice. We're appreciative of the work that you guys do and that you would share this collaboration with us. And before we share an update for next month, we just want to mahalo all of the businesses and organizations and foundations that partner with us throughout the year, not only to be able to bring talks like this to you, but to continue doing the actual work of protecting reefs in Maui. So mahalo to all of our supporters and our sponsors. And next month, so the first Wednesday of 2025, I know no one's ready for it, but it is actually New Year's Day. So we won't be having a webinar on New Year's Day. Enjoy the start of the new year. I'm sure we'll all need a little break after the holidays. But we are working on a volunteer opportunity later in January. So like I mentioned, the Reef and Brief, if you're on it, you'll get our updates. But if not, sign up and we'll make sure to keep you updated on that. And then lastly, but not least, the recording of the talk will be sent out via email and will be on YouTube in a few days. So mahalo, Caesar and Liz, again for being with us. Thank you to everybody who tuned in, and we will see you all next time. Aloha.